need to do is check the levels, and on our way we go.
Hello?
Yes.
Uh-huh. What?
Just checking my levels.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding.
Check,
I'm kidding.
check. Mic check.
Mic check.
Boop. Yeah. Water's so good. Oh my god. It's one of the best things ever. I'm sitting here with a gallon of water next to me. I've been drinking on it for the last day.
I need to drink a little bit more.
So does somebody have the list up? Can somebody
Know
Right
it.
here.
have that list? Okay.
Madam List is on top of it.
Because
Please put that on my tombstone.
Madam List.
Madam
Yeah.
List, it shall be done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your will be done.
And I'll even put the little picture of a scroll with some little scribbles to make it look like an actual list.
Thank you.
Madam List.
Y'all know me so well.
What's listed there? I don't know, man, but it's listing a lot of things. Look at that scroll.
Show is
Look at
important.
that scroll.
Yeah.
There are tears in my eyes.
Oh, joy.
Exactly.
Complete ecstasy. All right.
Uh,
Let's get into a mission and get on with this, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
You wanted a rural area?
yes, that's where it says my best chances of fruitcake hunting are.
Get
Put 'em in a
over
forest.
to the lightning. There we go.
Okay. Oh my.
So, how do we sound? Are we all good?
I don't know, I don't have the YouTube back up here. I can pull it back up again.
No, Vast.
I do. Hold on a second.
Vast has it.
Too late, I'm switching it over.
Okay, fine. We're gonna have 2 streams going.
Are we actually live?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay, sorry, I was on a different stream.
Okay, we're live and we're sounding good.
All right, cool.
Or at least you guys did. I don't know how I sound.
Well, you can wait till you hear yourself and then be disgusted
Nice.
by the way you sound, like I do.
I gotta tell
Oh,
you,
no,
I
sounded
definitely
good.
did not believe that I sounded like that.
We are good to
I sound a
go.
little quiet. I'll hold this mic a little closer.
Okay.
Just a wee bit quiet.
To gather storm intel, Commander. Let's launch that van.
Okay.
Fill her up if you be so kind.
Uncharted
I need to get back up in
enemies.
those clouds.
We're headed your
Rock,
way.
rock,
to
rock,
low.
Make sure
rock,
to track
rock.
any blue glow you see.
Okay. Let's fire off into this, shall we?
Stand by for an important
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
2.
You're in.
Whoa.
Not
Wait.
everyone all at once now.
Okay. All right, fine. DerNami Gaming episode 16 podcast dilly, but this one's special because our dear year 2017 is now dead, and that means we have a chance to give out awards for all the games that we love and hate. We're going to be covering many things. It is the first inaugural Wavy Awards, you guys. We made it.
Whoop.
We made it.
Also, you need to re-invite me. I lost connection to this.
All right. So I am Scorch. I'm joined by Vast Empires and Arcadia Zero as usual. Yep. Oh wait, that was sent to the wrong person.
I was like, I just
Oh my
received another
God.
invite.
Oh my god.
We're off
There
on
we
a good
go.
foot. We're off on a good foot.
Award
And-
shows, you know, they always have something.
Yep. No wardrobe malfunction in this one though. However,
Oh no.
however
Thank
much I would love to get sued for that, it's not gonna be happening right now.
Oh God, think of the children.
Exactly. Anyway, we have a bunch of categories that we're going to be running through as per the usual award show style thing. And just a quick disclaimer, we haven't specifically agreed on a lot of this, so there's going to be some back and forth.
Yep.
Hilarity will ensue. We're still going to be friends in the future, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Glow to prepare for liftoff.
Can confirm.
off we go. What is the first category? And who did we...
First category at the top
Nominate.
of the list is Best Game Sound.
Best
Oh, and I'm already being
sound.
Okay.
Welcome to the party.
And the nominees are Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted Lost Legacy, Hellblade, and Cuphead.
I won't
Well-
lie, I've only heard legitimate soundtracks from 2 of those games.
Well, this is game sound. It's not specifically soundtracks. We're talking about
Yeah, I guess that's
in
true. That's true.
in general. We can talk about
Old
ambient
Siren
sounds.
and
We
stuff.
can talk about the way characters sound. We can talk about voice acting. We can talk about background noise, all that junk. So we thought of
This is a true statement.
quite a few things when nominating our games. And we all sat down, sans Arcadius because he's busy improving himself as a person,
Yeah, sorry.
and thought these
Sorry
up.
from the gaming sense, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I put Horizon Zero Dawn on there because of all of the mechanical monster noises that they had to make, because that was awesome. And I loved it.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. And that game also had some really good ambient sounds as well, like the wind and the grass that you were always crouching in. You know, the sound of your arrow hitting either a mechanical beast or a real beast always sounded really nice. And the voice acting was, I think overall was actually pretty good. But the thing is, I can't recall the music.
There was very little of it. I think it
music
was...
always very minimal, and the
Yeah.
only time you legitimately heard music was during cutscenes. They would play sometimes a little bit of a light melody in the background, depending on the scenario. But for the most part, you are correct. There wasn't much music. It was filled with pure natural sound per the environment.
But we have more
Which
than
was-
Horizon Zero Dawn on the
Yes,
list,
yes,
so we
yes,
should
yes.
get to the other ones. We have a lot of categories, so we might be rolling through this kind of quick.
Yeah, we're going to roll through it kind of quick. Uncharted Lost Legacy, I placed on the list because I felt like the voice acting in that game was really strong. And it really helped sell, like, the adventure of it. And the dialogue itself was funny, and so that was really, or not always funny, but, you know, it was tense when it needed to be tense. It was funny when it needed to be funny, and there developed like a kind of camaraderie between the two leads in a natural way. The villain sounded very villainous, and I enjoyed the voice acting a lot on that game.
I'm
Okay,
going to agree.
next on the list, Hellblade.
Sadly, I don't think any of us played this game, so this is kind of a blind entry. What we do know is that many people who have played raved about the sounds in this game. It is kind of from the psychological side of the way people think about things, right? And that played into the sound that they made in the game that they went for. All the words that aren't coming to me right now.
But I heard
And-
it was very distinct, and it really made the game.
Yeah. Or is that...
And
No, yeah,
last on
more.
the list is Cuphead. That's last on the list, and Cuphead I honestly think deserves to be on this game for the soundtracks alone. Even if you don't like 1920s music, even if you weren't a fan of Merry Medleys or the different cartoons that the game is kind of based around, it did such a good job of bringing those sounds together, and the soundtrack is really delightful. The bosses all kind of have like that faint 20s 30s kind of gangstery slang, what we think of as gangstery slang, like accents.
Yeah, see?
Yes. And there was even like sections where some of the characters would sing, because the basic conceit is Cuphead goes to a casino and he loses so badly that he loses his soul to the devil.
Oh
And
god,
so, yeah.
that's
And so-
really bad.
Yes.
Like he
But-
is an awful poker player.
But like the music, during those scenes and all that kind of stuff is really cool. So I strongly think that even if you don't play this game, you should definitely take a listen to the soundtrack or watch someone play it, because it's very cool.
So that being said, that rounds out the category. What do you think should win? Seeing as how we didn't agree with anything.
Mm-hmm. Survey says
I'm one to elect Horizon Zero Dawn, just because it had a rather large impact on the way I thought of how a gigantic mechanical metal Tyrannosaurus would sound.
This is true. And the rest of what you'd consider like normal operating sounds or action sounds weren't overly synthetic like some games make them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll chalk that one up too.
What do you think, Bass?
All right.
Slight amount of bias since it was one of the games played, but I mean, there's a reason the game was
Yeah.
played.
We only got so
I will-
much time in the day. We can't
yes.
play everything.
So, okay, that's a 2-1 vote. I will keep my vote for Cuphead, if only because, again, the soundtrack is masterful, and it really does go a long way in creating this whole entire, like, 1920s, 1930s, early Looney Tunes, Merry Medleys, like, aesthetic they were going for, and that music goes a long way. But I will concede happily, because I do like Horizon Zero Dawn's organic take to inorganic matter.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. So the Wavy goes to Horizon Zero Dawn, with a runner-up being Cuphead.
Our first Wavy is given, y'all.
Yeah. We're on our way. We just have to, be seen as a legitimate force now. Next
Hi.
category. What do we got?
Sorry, I'm not looking at the list. Bottom list.
The next category is Best Gameplay, and your nominees are For Honor, Nier, Automata,
There we go.
Prey, and Fortnite.
Yeah. So we put
Alright, so-
For Honor on there because it is a newish take on things. It seems like they started with the 2D fighter kind of model and branched it out to a 3-dimensional setting. And I think it was really, really cool the way they did it. And I would
This is
love to
ignoring
see
all the ridiculous spam logic
Yeah.
that people
No.
used on the game.
Yeah.
Well, we-
Purely the mechanics alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think it worked out, like, execution aside and all of that. It was really cool the way that they worked it, or rather, the way they wanted it to work was astounding.
Agreed.
Yeah.
If it weren't for some of the drawbacks of the game, it would still be fun to play right now, simply because of how you move and interact with other players.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's a given. Next on the list, though, since we won't just, end the list there.
Next on the list is Nier.
All
which
right.
Scorch played.
Yes, I think I'm the only one of the three that played it, and I've been streaming it recently. I decided to give it another go, and it's pleasantly surprised me the amount of stuff that I still had yet to experience in that game. But the reason why it's on the list is because of the iterative nature of the game, the way they worked out how all of the characters that you played are different from one another in various ways. So to give an example, your very first character that you play, 2B, is a very standard kind of action adventure style setup where you have two weapons, you have a heavy attack and a light attack, and you use items and so on and so forth. Well, if you play a little bit further, you start to play as the second character, 9S, and 9S is not designed for frontline combat. So instead of this heavy attack that he's unable to do, they gave him a hacking element where he could deal damage to enemies through hacking their circuitry. And if you play a little bit further, you get other characters, like A2, for instance, who is built around being really foolhardy and taunting the ever-loving crap out of everything. And so the dynamic switch and your requirement to be able to work through all of these play styles, these quirks, these play styles, is worthy of a spot.
Agreed.
Okay. Next game is Prey.
I think that's another one that just I played, right?
Yes, I watched some other online play of it, but most of the gameplay is similar.
Yeah. All right.
Freakish.
So let me take a swig of water here, right quick. All right. So I put this on the list for two reasons. One reason is fairly straightforward, and it's that your like the necessity to overcome a zero gravity three-dimensional movement through space has not really been conquered all that well until this game, I feel like. They really nailed the disorienting nature of how everything felt when you're floating around in space. Because you move right one direction and you move back to another direction, and you're not oriented in the same angle any longer. You have to mess with rotation and all that.
I'll be perfectly content and awkward in that angle.
Oh, yeah. And the other reason is because I have never, until this game, seen a point in time where you could ever turn yourself into a moving sentient teacup to get through bars. And you absolutely can do that with Prey. And it's really cool.
You just love it for its quirkiness.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's some places that you absolutely could not get to in the game unless you had the ability to turn into small things.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah?
All right. And last on the list is the game that we're playing right now, Epic Games Fortnite.
Fortnite. So I spoke for a little while. Y'all take it away.
I think Fortnite's easy takeaway of what put it here is its ease of crafting for simple structures that make big game differences, and the fact that it's done seamlessly on the fly with combat is, I think, what makes it fun and enjoyable. Because it's not overly complex. I mean, 4 basic shapes that can be tweaked and modified to suit a particular need. It's just really straightforward in that sense. There's not a lot of other games that can claim that they are that simple and enjoyable at the same time. So obviously, the fun factor is definitely a big part of that. Oh my god.
Ooh, wow, that was some bad lag.
Oh yeah, I
Which
just ran
one
into a
of
wall.
you? Okay.
All right.
All right, so those are our picks. Who do you think wins for best gameplay 2017?
That's hard.
I'm going to pick For Honor.
Here you go.
Okay. I think
Only because out of all the genres of game types like that, with, you know, almost a combination of the 2D fighters, or not necessarily the 2D, the ones that are kind of a combo with the one with the sword.
Like Soul Calibur?
Yes. Soul Calibur-esque, but very three-dimensional and fluid in live action play.
yeah.
Again, excluding the retarded spamming of that game, and considering only the mechanics of how it works, it, to me, is a big refresh in the right direction for top-tier mechanics in terms of real-life motion and movements.
Yeah. Yeah. Vass, what say you?
You know what? I'm actually really torn, but it would be between Fortnite and For Honor. One, because I've played both of those games, and I would actually lean towards For Honor. Even though we're not still playing it, the basic combat in the system was very easy to use. It was intuitive, but it did have, when you played the game the way that the developers wanted it to be played, it did have the nuance of a fighting game, and you know, with your actual battling a person, learning how to block and dodge and, you know, all that kind of stuff, that kind of tension, it really came across in the game. And all of the classes, even all of the characters, even the different classes, really did play differently. So even if you had a spear class in the three people, the Valkyr played different than the, I can't think of her name right now, she wasn't a Kunoichi, but the Japanese. Yes, the Nobushi.
The Peacekeeper?
Yes, played different from the Peacekeeper, played different from the Berserker. Even though they had those similar roles, the class, and they were in the same class, they all played very differently, and they were fun to play.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I think I said to you guys, I really wish that they had put a little bit more time into the single-player campaign mode of it, because that was fun, and they kind of surprised me every once in a while. Like when you fought people on horseback in a chase, like I wasn't expecting it, and it was a fun, episode.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna say For Honor 2, just because of the same reasons that y'all said. So I believe that's a clean sweep for this one, right?
Yes, best gameplay goes to For Honor.
For
Yes.
Honor.
That brings us to our next category: biggest bang for your buck.
Oh man, I'm gonna use this.
And your nominees are Fortnite, Assassin's Creed Origins, Nier,
Automata.
and Cuphead. Oh, okay. Nier Automata and Cuphead.
Terminator. So,
I can.
if you've been paying attention to our channel at all, the three people that regularly tune in, you'll know that we play a ton of Fortnite. We've been playing this and streaming this since almost the day it came out, and we're still playing it, and we are still enjoying it, believe it or not. And
a little dry in spells.
it can, but it's not like we can't come back to this game after a small hiatus. It's not like we've thrown this game away forever, never to be played again, Battlefront 2. And that says a lot for this kind of industry that is going around, for the kind of gamers that we are. To have something that we've been playing for months is very telling of the game.
I would agree. The other really interesting thing about Fortnite is because it's in its early access model, you as the gamer can decide, for the Save the World version, you as a gamer can decide how much you actually want to pay for the game. So if you only want to come in at the standard model, you pay the minimum price, which I think is $40, is it $30 or $40?
Something like that.
Probably
It's cheap. It's
30,
cheaper than a
but it might have been
premium game.
sale. It's
Yeah.
Like a AAA title will run you 60 base, and that's cheaper than Fortnite is cheaper than your AAA alternative.
And if you don't feel like you want to play the PvE version of the game, they actually have added a PvP version in their Fortnite Battle Royale expansion, which is currently free to play.
Mhm.
So you can also not pay at all and have a really well polished Battle Royale mode, and that's a big bang for the buck. That saves your wallet some dollars, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Next, Assassin's Creed Origins.
Okay. I nominated this game because Assassin's Creed games are pretty cool. They have a pretty large following. And also, the way that they work their map means that there's a lot to do. And if you're the kind of person that enjoys collecting every single little piece of everything, or finding and killing the strongest bad guys on the map and showing them who's boss, or finding every single shiny golden weapon that also poisons your enemies to death in a glorious spray of green haze, you can do that too. And their recent rework from previous titles means that all of this is relatively new, if you think about it, to an Assassin's Creed game. Sure, you have a lot of things that you collect, but it's not set up the way that Assassin's Creed Origins is set up. Ooh, why did I just fall through? Anyway, that's why I put it on the list.
Fair enough.
Next is Nier Automata.
It's another one of those games that just I played. It's huge. I didn't realize how big it was until I went back to it. There's so many things that I haven't even thought of or experienced in that game yet.
Well, considering it's a game that essentially is played with like 10 different characters,
Yeah.
even though you're relatively in the same area, you're bound to explore slightly new or different or altered areas of ones you've already gone through. So, stands to reason there's a lot more there to be played.
Yep. And to the individual in the chat, Albadar, who asked, Destiny 2 win your Game of the Year yet? We haven't gotten to Game of the Year yet. You have turned in relatively early, so sit back and relax. We'll get to it.
But we got you covered.
Yeah.
All right, and last game on Biggest Game Bang for Your Buck is Cuphead, against the game that I played only. And it's not a PS4 game. It was an Xbox and PC exclusive title. But because of that, it means that you actually had a lower, for a console game, you had a lower price tag. I think the game was only like $14.99 or $19.99 at launch.
Yeah. Like Steam.
And I think I probably, Steam prices. And I think I probably purchased the deluxe version only because I wanted the soundtrack after I heard the soundtrack. But at the same time, the game is hella hard, as we were kind of discussing before. But they have different boss battles, and it always feels different, just from the way that they fine-tune the difficulty, the way that they kind of play with your understanding of how games work, and then kind of turn it on its head to use your gaming sense against you. It's just really cool to me. And so I literally played the same boss over and over again until I got it right. And then some things I only had to play once or maybe even twice to get it right. So
Flip the switch when you're ready.
you can spend a lot of time playing that game, and then if you turn the difficulty up, then it's a whole new ball game.
Mm-hmm.
So that is our 4 for Biggest Bang for Your Buck: Fortnite, Assassin's Creed, Nier, and Cuphead. Who wins?
Ooh, that's hard. That's a hard one.
I want to go with Nier Automata on this one, and that's only because you basically
Really?
get 10 campaigns for the price of one.
That's true. That's very
I mean,
true.
sit back and think about that for a moment. You play with one, you get a whole playstyle, check. New character, you get a whole nother playstyle, a whole nother set of weapons and playables, albeit along the same timeline, so you're looking from a different perspective, but it's a whole different new campaign. And then a third one, and then a fourth one, and then a fifth one, and then a sixth one. And on top of all that, it's going to interweave a little more story each time.
And we are story gamers.
We are.
So I'm going to have to go with Automata on this one.
I think I'm gonna have to agree.
Definitely don't discount the work of all the other games and how big they are and
No.
expansiveness and all that jazz, but
We must
if we're talking
admit.
bang for your buck, it sounds to me like if I was gonna be like, oh, you wanna pay this much for a campaign, I'd be like, oh, okay. Would you pay this much for 10 campaigns? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am going to say that I'm very very tightly split between Fortnite and Nier, but I am going to lean towards Nier on this one and make it our second unanimous decision, only because
That was really bad.
Only
Sorry, my voice isn't
because-
there yet.
it's not just varied varied characters. It's also like really varied gameplay in that one game, because you have your kind of really awesome Japanese like sword play, but you also have bullet hell motions where you're basically your own, Gallagher kind of thing, and there is a story to be told in there.
Galaga, right? Like Gallagher smashes watermelons.
Galaga. Excuse me, Galaga. Sorry, Galaga. It's been a long day, y'all. But yeah, so you have a lot of varied gameplay in that one game itself, and then you play it again with your different characters to make it different. So my vote is also for Nier.
Okay, that's our second clean sweep of the night. The Wavy goes to Nier Automata.
Woo!
Yeah.
All right, next category, Best Game Update. Your nominees are No Man's Sky, The Division, Fortnite Battle Royale, and Horizon Zero Dawn, The Frozen Wilds.
We should say that in this update, we're talking about patch or expansion. It's an update to the game. We're not strictly looking at patch for playability. We're not strictly looking at update for more story. We're taking
Content.
all of those into consideration at once.
And how much it really affects or changes the game itself, or even the perception of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, strictly speaking, we don't play that much Fortnite Battle Royale, but we must admit that it completely changed the dynamic of who plays Fortnite. It's rapidly become their most successful section of the game is their Battle Royale mode. Off of, one would say, riding the coattails of PUBG, but we are not here to point any fingers at Fortnite. At least.
That's another podcast.
Oh yes. Just for the fact that they pulled in all of those players alone is a tremendous feat and worthy of the reason why it's on the list.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, next on the list is No Man's Sky.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Alright, so I actually jumped back into that to play it, and it definitely had new things and new dynamics, with more vehicles, but I was annoyed because all the stuff I previously had was undone with new unlockables that I now had to have in order to actually use them or do them. So kind of perturbed. They definitely added more variety, but I'm kind of torn as this one even being categorized as best update because it's kind of the content that should have came with the game in the first place. And it's only now up to what I'd call full game.
And so that's one of the reasons why we actually placed it on the list, because most games could have cut and run. But Hello Games did continue.
That's because their reputation would have been done.
Oh,
They would have been smote into the ground if they would have stopped. And so, in order to survive as a game developing company, they were obligated to add, the rest of the game to the Sky.
Yeah.
So it did not deliver what probably they expected or what gamers expected, but they did deliver on the promises that they made in terms of expanding the gameplay. And to be perfectly honest, it may be a low bar, but it's still a bar that some AAA game studios aren't clearing right now.
Yeah.
And we
we'll
should
get
acknowledge
to that. We'll get to that in the future. I think we have a category for that, specifically for the slingage of mud. But
and next on the list, in the same vein as No Man's Sky, is The Division.
Yes.
Now, The Division is a game that we played together. We actually enjoyed overall, but it's something that we haven't really revisited. Although I keep on trying to convince these two that we should go back and try it out, because I've heard that the most recent patches have actually been worthwhile and worthy of gaming, and has again kind of helped expand on the promise of the game and make it more enjoyable.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
We should note that we haven't specifically tested out this update. It's off of hearsay at this point. And,
but people I do trust.
Yeah. We take that into consideration.
Okay, and last on the list is Horizon Zero Dawn, The Frozen Wilds. This is the most recent expansion of Horizon.
The expansion was good, but I can't actually say it added a whole lot. All it did was rehash a couple of existing weapons and tell you, oh, these are the stronger versions of these weapons. And
they added a few weapons too.
They did, but I mean, realistically, they were mostly all the same except for like the flamethrower and the ice and shock weapon they added.
Yeah.
For a few, I mean, for the DLC that it was, it was definitely more than I expected. But I don't know if it would be like earth-shatteringly different like, No Man's Sky was.
Yeah.
Because, it was a whole other game.
We have a smasher problem right quick. Ooh, and he's toast.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but there's a hole in it.
I know, because the smasher.
Okay. So out of those four, No Man's Sky, The Division, and Fortnite Battle Royale, Horizon Zero Dawn, who wins Best Game Updates?
I'm going to have to give it to, not Horizon Zero Dawn. A lot of things are going to Horizon Zero Dawn tonight, not this one. I would say Fortnite, the Battle Royale update.
I'm going to as well because it not only showed from a gaming perspective, but in the pocketbook, which is basically the voice of the gamers.
Yeah. Another smasher.
So,
I would agree. Fortnite Battle Royale wins Best Game Update for not only continuing to give rise to the Battle Royale genre dominance, but also almost maybe saving Fortnite.
Yeah, it was kind of a lackluster game to most people until some free PvE got in there, because at the end of the day, people are like, oh yeah, zombies, whatever. But when you get to like fight other people, that's where people really get off on some games. So
oh yes.
I think that's really what won people over.
All right, next on the list, most surprising game of 2017. We have our nominees as Nier Automata, Prey, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Resident Evil 7.
I think we'll need a little more proof.
No shade, maybe a little shade, but no shade.
Kind of a lot of
What do you
shade.
think?
Flip the switch when you're ready.
What do you think of most surprising game as Nier? We've talked a lot about it, but
We have. It's been nominated quite
It
a
was
few
surprising.
times.
it was a very surprising game.
It's a sequel to a game that came out a long time ago. It wasn't really on my radar until it came out, and I looked at some of the art and stuff for it. I played it, thought it was okay, and have recently picked it back up and thought, good lord, why did I ever put this down? This is amazing. Why did I not do this before?
Defend the van.
And specifically for that is why it's on the list.
We've got a bonus in play.
Okay. Next on the list, Prey.
That was
Tea-
probably the
teacups
most
aside.
surprising,
Teacups aside.
That had some story and action that I did not see coming.
In Prey?
So if we're talking about if we're talking about surprising from both a story and a gameplay standpoint, that one to me is the shocker.
Okay. What else? Okay, Mass Effect Andromeda.
Who else thought you'd have to turn yourself into a nanite reinfused teacup in order to fit through a wall?
Yeah. So, moving on, we put Mass Effect Andromeda on the list. Kind of for a different reason. It was surprising in that we picked it up, all three of us picked it up, and realized this is what the game is. And
Yeah, it was
About
surprisingly
3/4 of the way
not
through, it was.
or living up to its potential, rather.
yeah. The expectation and what it actually turned into was the surprising bit about this one. And it's quite sad, really.
Hold on to your soul.
Oh my.
Okay. Yeah, but the game itself coming from such a well-appointed, well-loved studio, a well-loved franchise, really great ideas, really strong start in my mind.
Oh, yeah. The
had a
intro to
really
that game
strong
was,
start.
to make a shitty pun, stellar.
Nice.
I'll see myself out after this.
No, please. I'm going.
And on that note, it was very surprising that it did not live up to its potential.
Yeah.
So that's why Mass Effect Andromeda made it on this list, at least for me.
From the historical perspective of the other Mass Effect.
Yes.
Because let's face it, when it came out, everyone immediately is trying to compare it to the previous ones.
Yeah. Well, there is no way it could, step out of that shadow.
No.
It was stuck there forever. So,
And last on the list is Resident Evil 7.
yeah. None of us played this game, to be fair. None of us played it. But it's on the list because it is a rather large departure from the way traditionally Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil games were played in the past. It went to a first-person perspective. It changed up the setting. It made a lot of things. And for the most part, I think they did a good job with the changes. It's not like you can look at it and say, oh, that was pretty ham-fisted. The way they worked that didn't quite work out, and you can tell it was their first iteration. Nothing like that actually hit home. It was all, they did this well, and they did it well for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Launch in 3,
It's really hard to iterate, from game 1 to game 2, between 5 years, and this is game 1 to game 7 across 20, maybe 20 plus years. I actually don't know when the first Resident Evil game came out.
A long time ago.
But a long time ago. And so that surprised a lot of people. And even though I'm not someone who enjoys horror or survival horror as a game, I did watch a little bit of game, excuse me, as a game genre. I did watch something, some people play on Twitch. I did talk to friends of mine who actually do play and have really enjoyed it. And it surprised a lot of people, and it surprised me.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is our 4 most surprising games of 2017. Who won?
Prey.
Wow, really? I didn't see that one
That was
coming.
quick.
I'm gonna throw it to Prey on that one.
Wow. Well, I would say Resident Evil 7.
Fast, you're up next.
Okay.
You don't have to
Thinking
agree
about
with
that
us.
other
This can be a
category.
3-way
No.
split.
No, this is
Yeah.
about to be a 3-way split because my most surprising game was Mass Effect Andromeda, because not only was it built up, I rode the hype train with my buddy Scorch here. I really thought it was going to blow me out of the water.
Choo choo!
Not just because of his hype, but because, you know, I've heard of Mass Effect before. I know plenty of people who played the original 3 games, and loved them.
Yeah.
And so I fully expected to follow the same way. I like sci-fi, and after playing it for the first like hour and a half, 2 hours, like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm digging it. And then of course it completely fell off for me, and that really surprised me. I did not expect to only play the game for a few hours and then just walk away and say this really isn't worth, you know, the rest of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's heavy. That's real heavy.
It's harsh. It's a harsh reality.
Well, winners, get a hacksaw, 'cause you're cutting that trophy up 3 times. Mass Effect Andromeda, Prey, and Resident Evil 7. You have a 3-way tie for most surprising game of 2017. Congratulations.
Congratulations. All right, next game is Best Re-Released Game of 2017. Now, this category, you know, we kind of put on here kind of cheekily, but, you know, lately a lot of different studios have been re-releasing their games. Classics, some may say, a bid for your nostalgia money, some may say, but they're here, and a lot of them we really enjoyed. So our nominees are Okami, the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Final Fantasy XII, and Jak and Daxter.
One might confuse this one with, well, you get bigger bang for your bucks if you buy the ones that, you know, are essentially multiple games for a single purchase. But I think re-releases basically go back to the portion where they're basically tapping into the nostalgia train. Like, there's no other reason to do a re-release unless you want to tap back into the nostalgia train because you know that there's enough people that would want to replay it with their new generation consoles. So I'm kind of partial to the Final Fantasy because I think Final Fantasy 12 is one of the best ones, in my opinion. But that's where I get on that cab of the nostalgia train because that's kind of, out of all those games, that's the one that I get excited to play.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
mileage may vary.
I guess I'm going to be the one to vouch for Crash Bandicoot because, one, it's from one of my beloved companies, Naughty Dog, and another, this re-release wasn't just, okay, we've updated it so that it could fit on the new architecture and pushed it out there. This was a complete rebuild from ground up. They took the levels, they took everything that people remembered, and they rebuilt it to go well with the capacity of the consoles that are the current generation. And purely from that, because I'm absolute fucking trash at platformers, I am gonna have to applaud them at least for putting in the effort, not just, porting a game to a new area.
And I'm also going to deviate from you other two, and I'm actually going to go with Okami. And my first instinct was to go with Final Fantasy XII because it's my favorite Final Fantasy game in the series. And I really, really enjoyed playing it again. Like it was like slipping into your favorite PJs. I was like, I love this game. I love these characters. I love Fran and Valthier. I love the magic. I love the world. I love the voice acting. I love hearing someone say day-affected nephesite. It's such a fun thing to say.
But you have to say it in a really grisly tone, like,
you have the day-affected nephesite. Yes! Well, when I'm looking at it like from a game catalog kind of way and a nostalgia factor, Okami really was, for the time in the PS2 kind of world, it was kind of revolutionary, especially for the Wii. You actually use the remotes to actually do the brush strokes, and bringing it, and it had such a really charming story, really clever gameplay. You played as a dog who was also the spirit of a Japanese goddess, so there's some cultural things in there, like some cultural storytelling that I think is always relevant and appropriate for, continuing stories kind of thing. And it's just reintroducing these new ideas of gameplay and design and creating fun, interesting levels for gamers that they're not really lost, but it's kind of like that game that kind of makes you remember why you enjoy playing games. Yeah. And so I think having it reintroduced to older fans and newer fans is a good thing. And so I was actually really excited to hear it's going to be re-released.
And I think we just threw Jak and Daxter in there because I played it recently and it was a re-release that came out close to The Lost Legacy, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, to be perfectly honest, I love that game, and I replayed it because I love that game, but I'm glad I don't have to play that game anymore because it brought up some old wounds and some old grievances that I forgot that I had, and I'm glad I don't have to go through that anymore. They're fun. They're great games. They're wonderful to play. The stories are cool and all that. I'm just not gonna touch them anymore, and I wish I had realized that sooner. And
otherwise you might not have picked it back up again.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why Jak and Daxter, the quadrilogy, is on the list.
All right, so those are our nominees. Who takes home the Wavy?
Oh. Man.
Well,
Final Fantasy?
Because I only played a little bit of Jak and Daxter. I did play a fair amount of Crash Bandicoot, and I'll kind of echo that it was fun, but definitely the old memories of like how frustrating some of those old levels were. Like, stupidly frustrating to the point of like, I've been at this for 40 minutes and I literally can't walk past this 20-foot marker.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
it hurts.
alone
It really,
is kind of
it really
turn
hurts.
off to the point where it's like, Final Fantasy didn't do that to me. Final Fantasy did me right. So, throwing it out there.
Yeah. I'll have to agree.
All
I'm
right.
going with Final Fantasy.
All right.
Okay.
So congratulations, Final Fantasy XII. You may not have won too many awards when you were first released, but you won the best
won a
re-release
hot
game of
stack.
2017.
The coveted Wavy is yours, Final Fantasy.
All right, we're winding down, guys. We're halfway through. We've made it to our next category, games that we wish we played this year.
Ooh, boy.
All right, your nominees are Final Fantasy XIV, the Stormblood expansion, Gravity Rush 2, The Evil Within 2, and Ghost Recon Wildlands.
The FPS in me wants to say Ghost Recon Wildlands, but after playing the beta and realizing it would just be that, a whole lot of the same, I kind of am glad I didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to disagree. After playing the beta, I still want to go back and play Wildlands.
Really?
Like, that seems like a hell of a lot of fun, especially it's not really something where you can say, oh, it's gonna have an absolutely stellar story. It's absolutely gonna be like the best shooter gaming experience you could ever possibly hope to ever create. It's more like the shenanigans the three of us would get up to after crashing a helicopter into the side of a mountain next to a pack of llamas in a drug-infested gang town. That sounds fun to me. That sounds like a laugh and a half, and I want that.
Well, if that's the case, then the laugh and a half, it has to be, a group effort game.
Yeah.
And not necessarily a, just game by itself with one person playing type thing.
Oh yeah.
'Cause I don't see it being fun if just like, oh, I'll just play some, some Wildlands by myself. No, that just doesn't sound fun at all. Then you got those retarded AI that have to play with you.
I will say that I was kind of looking forward to playing that game with you guys. I was a little disappointed that we didn't, if only because we make a pretty good team, and even though I can't drive, I think that we would have had a lot of fun running from the juntas and the cabals.
You probably
and the
are correct.
stuff.
Yep.
I don't deny we would definitely have had a good time.
All right. I put Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood expansion on that because it's been a long time since I played Final Fantasy XIV. I played the base game and absolutely loved everything about it. After a certain point of time, though, I really did stop enjoying the combat or the system of it, but everything else about it, from the classes to the ability that I could be a botanist and a chef and a mineralogist and a ninja all at the same time.
So like
all
real
simple
life.
So like real life.
Yeah.
To the mounts that they had, they introduced a fat chocobo that you held Gesho greens in front of, and they completely changed the music when you rode the fat chocobo as opposed to the regular chocobos. Like, they just had so many. It was such a, from where Final Fantasy XIV came from to where it is now with 2 expansions, and they never failed to deliver not only a really good main story, but like a whole bunch of interesting side quests and interesting characters that you come to know. And it was just so much fun. And so when I saw that it had another expansion, I was thinking to myself, maybe I should go back. Maybe I should go back and get that monk on and learn how to be a samurai this time, or a machinist.
I actually kind of wanted to go actually play Final Fantasy XIV.
Really?
After seeing it was successful enough to come out with an expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a future
It's
endeavor.
It's honestly
Really,
worth it.
The expansion's not what I wish I would have played. It's the original one.
Yeah.
Into the expansion is the one I wish I would have played.
Okay.
But totally, it's a game that it's totally worth it. And if I will say this, and this is like shading and foreshadowing, but if gaming studios approached game to a service in the same way that MMOs approached it, I wouldn't be as violently opposed. Because Final Fantasy actually gives you, the content. They haven't broken that trust between players yet. So, players and developers. So, yeah. But anyway, next on the list is Gravity Rush 2. Scorch, take it away.
Oh, me? Well, it came out early in the year, and it was something that I had meant to play, but I just never bought it, and it got swept up with the current of all the other things that I'd been meaning to do, and all the other games that came out, and it just got left by the wayside. And it was critically acclaimed, and it looked gorgeous. The way that they had everything, like the way that they approached coloring and the way they approached characters, all seemed really, really cool. And I wanted that in my life, but it never happened.
I would say the same. I played the original Gravity Rush, which was, I believe it was a port of a PlayStation Vita game to the PlayStation 4, and it was a lot of fun, and it is gorgeous, and it does have some really cool gameplay mechanics, and it was just a fun time. Like, I really enjoyed playing it, so I was really excited to hear that they were doing a sequel to it, and then it arrived early in the year, and then just got buried underneath the ton of games that came out like February, March of last year, and I honestly forgot about it until we were talking about this list.
Didn't Horizon come out around that time?
Horizon came out mid-February.
That's why it got buried under Horizon.
Yeah. The Goliath.
Okay, and the last game on the list was The Evil Within 2. I placed this one on the list because Scorch was kind of urging me to purchase it, and then
for
me
nefarious
to stream on
purposes, albeit.
For nefarious purposes, it would have been a very short game because I would have turned it on and had to go into a spooky room and been like, "Nah, peace, I'm out."
I heard that for Craig. It's like, but you have carpet. I heard it, Craig.
But it did, like, I never played the first game, but I have a lot of friends, and I know people who played it who really love the psychological, like, thriller aspect of it and the, like, horror of it, and they said it was really great game, really cool ideas, cool in the creepy, strange, oh my gosh, you really thinking about this kind of thing, but still cool. And so I wish that I wish that I had the mental fortitude to play that kind of game, because I would be a truly brave person. But yeah, it seemed like a lot of fun, and I kind of wish that I had just went ahead and taken the plunge and then at least tried to play it.
All right.
I'm glad I didn't. I can't handle it.
So those were the games we wish we played this year. Who wins?
Ooh.
I don't know. Out of all of those, I'm split between Gravity Rush and the Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I think I would say
I know
Gravity
what you mean by
Rush.
Gravity Rush, and I do remember the graphics being like a really good looking.
Yeah.
Game that it was, and I was intrigued by it because I wanted to know if there's like good story to go with these good graphics, but didn't get there because didn't play it. So I don't know.
I would say Gravity Rush, only because it's one of those games that is like the most accessible to one person. It's one of those games where you don't need a gigantic posse to play like an MMO, Final Fantasy XIV, or Wildlands, where you need at least one other person. It's not gonna like murder your nerves like Evil Within 2. And
Or Rainbow Six Siege.
Or Rainbow Six Siege.
That's a nerve wrecker.
Yeah. It'd be an easy thing to pick up, is what I'm trying to say.
All right.
I have to tear my trophy in half for those.
All right, well then I'll be the deciding vote this time, and I'll say Gravity Rush 2 because, like I said before, I did play the first one. I really loved it, and now that we've brought it back for my birthday, it's probably one of the games I'm going to purchase for myself to try out. And you can catch it on our Twitch stream, DerNami Gaming. All right?
Gotta promote.
Gotta promote. All right,
Good.
moving on
I'll
to...
pick it up then. You'll be the test bed.
I will try it out, and you can watch. All right, the next category is going to be a fan and us favorite biggest flop of 2017.
Oh.
And your nominees are Mass Effect Andromeda, Star Wars Battlefront 2, For Honor, and Lawbreakers. Biggest flop of 2017. Take it away, gentlemen.
So what do we want to shit on first?
Oh,
Let's go in order. And I hate to
Lawbreakers
do this.
blue.
we're
Okay,
gonna
going
go.
right to the end.
Oh
All right.
man, I'm just gonna start from the bottom up. I played the beta, and I was like, well, this is like kind of okay. And I played a little more of the beta, and I was like, this is not really fun at all. And then that was the end of that. And then first thing I saw of Lawbreakers in the news was how terrible the player base and sales were.
Yep.
And it's like, man, I feel bad because I know a lot of people worked hard on this game, but they were trying too hard to be like other games with this weird oddity twist in it. And
Yeah.
it was destined for Flop City.
So while we were building this category and filling out the category, I happened to look at a website called Steam Charts. And one of the things that Steam Charts does is it tracks concurrent player base in next to real time. And I looked at the Lawbreakers player base. And it had, within the last 5 days, it had peaked on January 3rd with a whole 50 people online. And yesterday, it was sitting at 13 total people online.
Like 2 digits?
Yes, 13 people online.
Oh my god. That is even harder of a flop than I thought it was.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a moment to look at our chat real quick and say that Avadar has went ahead and called it as Lawbreakers because it's literally dead. Says that, like, that is as hard as you can flop as possible.
Yeah.
So we have a vote from our chat.
There's so little traffic, I could probably run that game's server off my laptop and it not get congested.
Probably not. Probably not.
No. Like, I legitimately could, my laptop would be just strong enough to maintain the couple matches that are being played right now.
Yeah. But let's not burn all the time here on Lawbreakers. We have other games to beat into the earth.
Mm-hmm. Next on the list is For Honor.
For Honor.
Oh man, as soon as the Spam-O-Matics came out, and as soon as people realized the Spam-O-Matics would not be fixed, it was like, well, this game is done.
Yep.
And then once the Spam-O-Matics got high up on the food chain in terms of level ups, they realized, this game doesn't actually load balance my level, so I can just rickroll noobs all day.
Yep.
And thus it was so.
Yeah. I think we'd have to chalk this one up to the company not really balancing their game or making it tight enough to actually work. It doesn't have anything to do with the concept, really, but you have to think of...
completely separate, decoupled.
You have to think of, one, the player base that likes to spam the shit out of an easy high-damage move, or, like, the Lawbringer pushing people off the map with a gigantic pull, you fucks!
Or let's not forget the guy that did the shield dash over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
If you couldn't get out of that cycle, but I think the one that won the Spam-O-Matic, or the thing that drove the nail in the coffin for the game, in my opinion, is when they hosted a godforsaken tournament and a dude practiced a couple days and won with a spam that out of like I don't know how many people, and then he walks away with like thousands of dollars in prize money from a spam he learned in like a few hours.
Yep.
That's awful.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it deserves to be buried.
I think that in terms of numbers, I don't recall the actual number itself, but I do remember that when For Honor came out, I believe there were like news stories that the beta was its actual highest player count.
This is true. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that people went into the actual game and they're like, oh, nothing was fixed from the beta. Oh, these things are actually worse than the beta. Okay, I'll play the campaign and then see if it pans out. Oh, no, it's still unbalanced. Okay, I'm done.
Yep.
And that's how For Honor got played.
Sad day. Sad day. It had so much potential. I liked it.
Man, if that was balanced game that you could continually play and not get shat on every 30 seconds, it absolutely would be a load of fun to play constantly. But alas, they did not heed the wisdom of online.
Yep. So, I think we're going to have to move on to this point to Mass Effect Andromeda. We touched on it before with our most surprising nomination. And we have it on the list because it ran into some various things. People that were veterans of the franchise left the team. EA had its greedy little way with the way things worked. This was a rookie team working on a veteran title that had very high expectations of it. Yeah. And that all combining made a lackluster experience, not only for the people that rake in the money from games like this, but also from the player base, from all of the people that were banking on the Mass Effect series to continue. And I maintain that it's a decent game. It's not, there's not anything like horribly awfully game breaking in the game or anything like that. It just does not, it's not up to par with the other Mass Effect games.
That and the facial expressions are all over the internet as being awesomely made.
Yeah. And their attempt to fix that didn't really work either.
That game was just memed out of existence.
It really was.
Which is really sad because, again, like it had a lot of promise. It did some things really well, but it didn't live up to the legacy. And you just can't release like a buggy, broken game to players. Stop doing this.
Yeah.
Stop doing it.
Yeah. The rush for meeting a deadline for contract and money reasons that are tied to these contracts is what is killing the quality of games.
Yeah, it definitely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. So what else was on our list? We hit like 3, right?
Okay, yes. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now this one has a different type of floppitude. We're not going to get 100% go all in on it because we still have more categories, and this one might make another appearance. But,
spoiler, it does.
Spoiler, it does. However, this game didn't have like the comparatively had high numbers. Like many games would want to sell at least 1 million copies during its first 2 weeks of launch. Like that is very good. But for Star Wars and for the franchise, it's actually very low numbers. And compared to what Call of Duty World War II did during its first week, like it pulled in like what, 4 million? Something like that within its first few weeks, 2 weeks of sales.
Be pretty good.
Yeah.
So this one flopped in terms of numbers, but also in terms of a game and goodwill to the community.
Yeah, it really turned an already kind of angsty towards EA feeling community to wholeheartedly torches and pitchforks, I'm going to kill everything mentality to EA.
Burn it to the ground.
It is dead to me, nothing ever again. And it's showing, especially when it comes to the way that they work the loot box system, which is exactly the wrong thing to do, has put in jeopardy all other EA titles in the pipeline. It has made people worry about the other games that are coming that we were looking forward to. And that's unacceptable for a producer like EA. It is absolutely unacceptable.
got.
I would agree. So even though there is a relatively large amount of people playing it, it hasn't reached the numbers of the first Star Wars Battlefront game that was released by DICE in was it 2015?
I believe so.
In 2015, and they just spurred whatever little goodwill people had towards EA to begin with. It's gone.
Yeah. As if it's any indicator, we've all already deleted it off of our hard drives and are not looking back.
I never bought it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we've got what's called buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Or at least I do.
Yeah.
If I could even sell, and I remember, y'all remember this?
Yeah.
I tried to cancel my pre-order, but because the game had physically downloaded itself, according to the EA fine print, it cannot be retracted because the one-time license used for the game is used up and thrown away once it's attributed to my account and cannot be refunded, even though I could not physically play the game. Yeah.
I remember Arcadia sitting on his phone talking to the representative from Sony. He went all the way to Sony to talk about it.
And she directed
no
me to a
avail.
little paragraph in the reading of the game when being purchased, which is not put there by Sony. It is put there by EA as their licensed content. And even though they sell you a good or service, you do not actually get to use the good or service you purchased because they couple the downloading of the game with ownership of the game, not the physically being able to play the game after purchase. So, yeah, be forewarned. If you buy it but don't download it, there is hope. You can possibly call it in, have them I don't know what you call it. Recant the license
cancel.
Assigned to your profile, because it has not officially been declared by your profile because it has not been downloaded yet. But if you pre-order and you download a game, consider it yours, even though you are like 2 weeks out from being able to play it. Or hours, for that matter. It doesn't matter.
Problems abound with that game, and
yes.
the majority of the gaming community and the majority of Star Wars fans within that community not necessarily happy about it. So I give it to you guys. Who wins the biggest flop of 2017? Mass Effect Andromeda, Star Wars Battlefront 2, For Honor, or Lawbreakers?
I don't think I've ever heard of a game with only double-digit player base, so I think Lawbreakers.
I'm gonna have to go Lawbreakers too. Not because it just face planted. Because what it did is not a face plant. They burrowed themselves to the planet core with how bad that flopped. All right,
Like,
it's over for them. It's over.
They made a bunker buster look like a stone skip across the surface.
Absolutely. Cliffy B can't show his face in public anymore. And he loves to ride around in his Lamborghini, you guys.
Oh my god.
Like, he's toast. He's toast.
Oh my god.
All right, well, then it's going to be a universal win. Congratulations, Lawbringers. You are our biggest flop of 2017. And as our chat says, it was dead before it was even a thing.
Yep.
All right. But we're going to, we kind of drop down to the bottom of the barrel. We're going to come back up real quick. And we're going to talk about the best developer / producer / studio of 2017. Your nominees are Nintendo, Ubisoft, Bethesda Games, and Studio MDH.
Yep. Alright, so I think we're going to have to put a little bit more context into why these developers or producers are on the list. Isn't this the one that has why we put them on
Yes.
there? Okay.
Yes, and I will go through that real quick. Nintendo, we're putting it on there as being like a shelter for their first-party games. We understand that there are studios underneath Nintendo who actually produce these games. But this year, Nintendo released Splatoon 2, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, and Super Mario Odyssey. Ubisoft, we've placed on the list because they have done a really good job this year in building anticipation for their games. They had really great tie-ins. We're thinking specifically for Assassin's Creed with their tie-in with Final Fantasy 15, and also their cross-branding with the Rabbids and Super Mario for their real-time strategy shooter game. And also because they're a really big studio, but they give a lot of creative control to their studios, and that's why a game like For Honor could actually be created. For all of its problems, it was a really niche idea, and yet it was given like the funding and the go-ahead and the big marketing push to succeed, and you don't see that, very often.
Nope.
Nowadays, you have to be a sure bet to get that kind of money behind you. And this one, it was a bit of a gamble, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Next on the list is Bethesda Games,
Smasher.
which released games like Arcane, Prey, and Dishonored. Again, Dishonored 2.
Arcane, to be clear, Arcane is the studio under Bethesda that developed Prey and the Dishonored series.
And that's another kind of like giving another big studio, big developer, giving their studios beneath them the time to develop, different things. I think that Dishonored actually took a little bit of a risk, with Dishonored 2 took a little bit of a risk. And the studio said, go ahead. You want to have two main characters and, animate women because Ubisoft said it was too hard? Well, gosh darn it, do it. And they gave them the ability to do so. And they created a really good game.
Yeah.
And then last on the list was Studio MDH, which produced Cuphead. And we placed this on the list because Cuphead was a highly anticipated by the gaming industry itself, but quickly became well received by fans. The fandom for that got really big, y'all. There are Cupsonas all over the place. There are plenty of Cupsonas. There are plenty of videos for speed runs and difficulty. And even
my share of memes from it. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's from a very small, developer, or very small game developer.
Yeah. That's all on our list, right?
That's all on our list. So what do you guys think?
Okay. Well, I don't know if partiality is a huge factor, or at least I'm trying to minimize its effect. If I was going to go off of that completely, I would say Bethesda, because it's my favorite group out there right now. Even if they refuse to move on from Skyrim, or refuse to put out any other Fallout title than Fallout 4 on every single goddamn platform that exists. It's my favorite. I love what they do. I love the work that they put into smaller studios and the resources that they give so that things like Prey and things like Dishonored can be a thing. Yeah, Arcadius.
Well, I guess I'm kind of mixed up with Studio on Nintendo because they also came out with the Switch this year. That's kind of a big portion of their portfolio this year. And because the Switch is, I think, starting to become quite successful now that it's kind of taken on the market a little better and people are more familiar with it, and I guess accepting of it, of the fact that it is a legitimate console system, that it truly is more portable than any other system, and has almost just as much power. I kind of want to give it to Nintendo.
Alright.
Only because in my mind I have a hard time separating the fact that they flagshipped this year with doing the Switch. And that's a big part of the whole company besides the game development.
Pretty big deal. I forgot about that. that came out this year.
I'm giving it to Nintendo because of the Switch flagship that drove the development for most of those games.
All right, that's fair.
I am going to swing towards Nintendo for those reasons, Arcadius, and also because, I kind of mentioned it earlier. It takes a lot to reinvent or even maintain quality of a franchise between one, game and a sequel, and for a game like Super Mario Odyssey to be just as relevant now as like a Super Mario was 30 years ago is pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, let's face it. I mean, everyone can play that little plumber as much as they want, but for him to continue to be played over and over and over in a timeless fashion, there's something to be said.
Yeah.
And still have something new and innovative about it, like the change between Mario and then Mario 2 and Mario 3 to Mario World to Mario 64 to Mario Sunshine. They're always thinking about a way of how to drive gameplay and make it different and make it better. Same with Breath of the Wild, same with Splatoon. And so the Switch, it had a monster year, but it was really driven by the games that they released with it.
Yeah. And one little thing to add to Nintendo is that they are finally opening their ideas and mindsets towards third-party titles. They've started to port other things than Nintendo products onto their consoles, and they didn't do that for the Wii, and they didn't do that for the Wii U, and I think that was part of what kept sales lows because their catalog was not very full.
But now that they've got a truly portable console-powered system, they can start running with it, because now it doesn't matter if they develop a stay-alone, in your living room type game or a portable Pokemon game, because now they'll legitimately be played on the same system.
Yeah.
For different individual purposes and needs. So I think they've really struck a gold mine with the fact that they've got a console/handheld that is dual purpose. Truly dual purpose.
All right, so it sounds like we are 2-1 Nintendo.
Nope. It's gonna be unanimous. You guys changed my mind. I'm going with Nintendo as well.
Wow, we are stubborn people to change someone's mind. That's pretty good. Way to go, Nintendo. You changed Scorch's mind.
That's powerful.
You are now our...
You don't know how strong that is.
The power of Nintendo.
Nintendo power! All right. That brings us... So we always have your best, and now we have to go to not our worst, because we were Sunshine here, but our most disappointing developer, producer, studio of 2017. And our nominees are Activision Bungie, EA Dice, EA BioWare, and Ubisoft For Honor. Take it away, gentlemen.
Oh. Activision Bungie. Suck, all the way down the drain.
Oh man, we made a pile of shit. Let's paint this pile of shit blue and then sell it for $60 again.
I believe the phrase we're looking for is lipstick on a pig.
Also known as lipstick on a pig.
That is the phrase that summarizes Bungie at this point.
Yeah, it's really sad. It
Lipstick
used to be
on a pig.
it man, what a fall from grace. Bungie was
Mm.
such a wonderful studio.
No, they didn't fall like, 6 feet tripped over the edge of the carpet type fall. They plunged themselves, careened themselves off of a
Careened.
cliff.
So they not jump rope. They bungee jumped from a 50-foot drop with a 70-foot cord, right? Like,
And cut the
Mhm.
bungee on the way down. Like,
So,
yeah, hard.
to bring it in this year, Bungie released Destiny 2, and it is a game that, while we fell off with the original Destiny, it iterated on itself through the life cycle of that game and kept a very strong, very loyal group of gamers at their core. They had a really tight-knit community for that game, and those people were really pulling for Destiny 2
And
to
if
be
you watch the
a
YouTube
thing.
videos of those quote-unquote loyal gamers, they end up at the bottom of the barrel, disappointed and regretting the fact they supported Bungie. I watched several people who were diehard Bungie people, and they gave them the benefit of the doubt, riding all the way through the DLCs of the first Destiny into this one, and got done with this one, and finally said, "Okay, yeah, they just messed up real bad. Like I'm disappointed."
are we laughing
Alvadar
about the same?
said,
Yes, we're
yes,
laughing about the same thing.
says, can't wait for the rest of that 10-year plan. That's probably not going to happen, and I agree with you.
I hope they kill that, bury it in the backyard somewhere, and pretend it never happened. Come up with a new plan and try fresh. Because at this point, if they come out with another Destiny title,
Nature's spy.
it is
Let's bring it in.
doomed.
I think they're about or gonna have to. Like, they're gonna have to
I
finish
think
this
they are
out.
obligated for a full trilogy set with EA or Activision or
The
what,
landing site
whoever
is
they're
somewhere in
doing
this
the
zone.
shady
Activision.
nonsense with.
Yeah.
I'll search for more.
They're going to have to push out another turd, and they're just going to have to deal with it.
They're
And
gonna
either
have to
they
push out
polish
another
this thing
turd
up-
painted a different color than blue
Yeah,
to
this pig
keep
needs a
going
different
on with this
lipstick color.
metaphor. It's gonna have to be like green or purple.
Yeah. I mean, unless they just drastically overhaul the game story for something that's exciting, makes sense, and can be returned to multiple times over and over, highly doubt that, since that pretty much goes against everything they've made so far with that game. I don't see the next one being as enthusiastic. And they're going to try and rev up that hype train, and everyone's going to be like, yeah, but Destiny's on the hype train again.
And let's
I hope they're sandbagging for the third one. I want them to do well. They're not
They
going
better
to.
if they want
but,
that game to be remotely successful.
Yeah.
'Cause the way I see it, the Destiny player base from the first one to their third one is just going to go.
Good sound effect.
they would honestly have to deliver on the promise of the very first game
Yeah.
to make the third game a success. And I hate to say this, but I don't know if Activision Bungie, specifically Bungie itself at this point, have the vision or the know-how.
They don't have
or
the moral
will.
support of the community, so in my
Yeah.
opinion, they're already 10 feet in the or 6 feet in the hole. They just haven't covered the hole up yet.
And I think one of the reasons why I am so salty about this and why I always come back to how greatly the original base game disappointed me, despite the fact that I met really great people, despite the fact that I spent so many hours playing that game, and is that it was very promising. It had such strong building blocks, and it failed
Fair.
to convert on gaming principles and game design that was easy for studios to do like 10 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
why is it hard to
Elementary.
make it a fun campaign? Like, when did that become hard?
Or a campaign, that took more than 20 minutes to finish.
Yeah. Why is that hard now? But we can talk about this for hours. We have before.
Yeah,
but
we've
let's
already
move
made a
on.
podcast, like 3 podcasts now, dumping on that game. So
Yeah.
we can just end that.
If you
Right there.
if you want to hear more of it, we have
Just go look at stuff
Yeah,
on our channel.
it's on our
It's all
channel.
there.
yeah.
All right, so let's move on to EA's first appearance on this list. EA Dice.
Dice.
That's right, Dice.
Dice.
You're forever tied.
Come on, Dice. Guys.
We're
What the
researchers.
Oh my god. Star Wars was a slam dunk, you dicks. You didn't.
Why you do this?
Oh my god. Why did you do this?
Why you do this?
The next Battlefield game better blow my goddamn socks off and suck my dick at the same time, Dice. It should be amazing, alright? You should knock it out of the park, okay? I'm not going to settle for less, you
man.
pieces of shit, alright? Get your act together. I've already left Bungie in the fucking hole that it wanted to be buried in. Don't join them, man. Don't join them.
And end of rant.
Needless to say,
man.
we were very disappointed by their second offering.
Yeah.
And I feel like they should be disappointed too, because they did iterate and innovate in some ways. From what I understand, the actual space combat is at one in the game, and two, a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they took steps to make it enjoyable and to meet those criticisms, and due to certain decision makings, we couldn't even really talk about the game on that level, because EA decided to just, excuse my language, shit on its player base and take all
Yep.
of their money at the same time.
Yep.
Rob them.
Yeah.
Rob them.
Beware of the invisible
And
hand.
fiscally.
I think that's enough said for
All right,
all that.
I'm lost. Where we at? Where are we on our list?
we are now on EA's
Rage
second.
has fueled this conversation.
Next is EA BioWare.
Okay.
Notice a trend here.
This is no less disappointing, but a couple of notches down on the rage meter for Mass Effect Andromeda. I mean, you killed an entire series, bro. Like, it's gone.
And a studio.
They put it on hiatus, and they also liquidated the studio. You're right. They liquidated the studio that worked on the game.
Tidings of good cheer.
Everyone, we have to do this. I'm sorry, we have to go do this.
Mount Olympus
Okay.
What are we doing?
Happy holidays. Get 'em while they're jolly.
What's happening?
Going.
Lars is bringing his presents. I'm sorry to interrupt the conversation, but Lars is bringing his presents, and I want presents from Lars.
Alright.
On the way.
We still got 11 minutes for presents.
No, for the weather balloon.
Oh.
We have 40 seconds to get to the drop zone for the presents.
No. I want presents. I'm coming.
Oh my gosh, I can hear him. There he is.
Do you hear the music? It's Lars with our presents.
I
Wow.
definitely hear it. And it's Christmassy.
Yeah. Very Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yeah.
Whoa!
There, droppings. Why haven't I done this sooner? Keep those presents.
All right. We completely derailed our
Don't forget to share.
podcast here. I'm having
Yeah, but we're
having trouble
back.
reforming thoughts.
Presents. It does it to me every time.
Yeah. So Mass Effect Andromeda, all that business. I think we covered that multiple times in this podcast. So we
Studio
can-
liquidated, firing of people, just bad times all around.
Yeah. So, what's left? Ubisoft and For Honor?
Ubisoft and For Honor.
I think we can say this is on there because the Ubisoft did not maintain the game. First of all, the gameplay wasn't tight enough for it to actually work, and second of all, they didn't keep up with it. It was over before it began if they didn't, keep up with sentiment or anything, or fix the bugs that was already there.
Or admit that they had problems.
Yeah.
They didn't even communicate. They didn't really communicate with their community, and they had like a weekly TV show. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still going. I mean, they're still doing that. If you turn into Ubisoft US on YouTube, they still are rolling with that.
Yep.
That's just kind of sad more than. Yeah.
It was disappointing. It is disappointing. So those are our top 4 most disappointing developer, studio, producer, publishers of
Holy
2017.
shit!
Who takes the cake?
Bungie. This is
That's,
your turd burger to
unequivocally,
ingest.
Inarguably. Dude. Oh man, that mental image is too strong.
Oh man.
I would not disagree. I feel like EA pissed off a lot of people, but Activision and Bungie disappointed the most. They had a very loyal fan base, and by the end of it, even like IGN runs a fire team chat, and they're very pro Bungie. They have a lot of industry connections with them, and they were, even on their fire team chat, they are talking some smack about that game.
Not some smack, like heavy
I found the
smack.
landing site. The location of the
Like,
landing site
Bungie,
was
why you
scanned
do
earmarked.
this? Like the rest of the internet.
Any attacks from the
Yeah.
storm's creatures could corrupt the data.
Oh, sad day. Let's move on.
All right, we're bringing it back up, and now we are reaching our last 2 categories. Game of the Year for 2017. Now, we kind of Oscared this one up because there are a lot of entries into the game, into the 2017, and so we have more than 4 for this category. We have Horizon Zero Dawn, Prey, Fortnite, Cuphead, Injustice 2, Persona 5, and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Oh man, so many good titles. But I think there can only be one winner from us.
That can only be one.
And we're gonna discuss things, in due time. But I want to go ahead and hand the trophy over to Horizon Zero Dawn. I think that's a straight up gimme from us. From the moment we played that game,
It was Game of the Year.
like we had been discussing, like giving them this award since we came up with the idea to make an award type game thing.
And also, since the very end of our play of the campaign, it was a sealed deal. Unequivocally, no arguments to be made. Best game played to me to date. I love it. Story's too good. It's too good.
Yep.
There were a lot of games that deserve to be on this category that may not have made it, but we knew that Horizon Zero Dawn was going to be on it.
I will say,
and
as far as a second place, I've seen a lot of gameplay footage and would still love to play Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah.
However, with all of its gameplay all the way through, and having talked this over with one of my friends who like lives, eats, and breathes Nintendo and has played that game absolutely through, he even considers it not one of the top Zelda games. He says it's great. It is for what they did with open world for the first time in a long time with Zelda. It was very well done, but the story itself and the boss battles, he said, kind of lacked some depth that the previous Zeldas had, that this one did not possess. But he says the real objective of this one was to experiment with open world platforms and gameplay style, which they accomplished to a T. So that I would say that one, I have not played it, but I would, when Switch comes out with their third very strong title, I will absolutely consider getting it.
Yeah. I'm hedging my bets until the Pokemon game comes out. And then I will be all over it.
Well, I will just go ahead and say, we talked a lot about Prey already. We talked a lot about Cuphead, or at least I did. I'm going to say why I put Injustice 2 on this list, just really quickly, because it's not often you see a fighting game on a list for best. And this one may not even be...
I got lazy and I watched the cinematics of that first one and second one back to back without playing the game. It was pretty good. I mean, with just the cinematic play, back to back, skipping all the fights.
Oh.
And so that's one of the reasons why I put it on the list, because it did provide you with a really entertaining game and story. And outside of the actual game itself, the Injustice comics were actually pretty good at comic storytelling. Some really interesting reimaginations of characters, that kind of thing. And then it really does a good job of getting those DC characters and those DC powers right. The banter between the characters is really funny, really tightly written. They also brought in some fan favorites, but not necessarily well-known heroes into the game for those DC fans. So in this iteration, you don't just have Batman and Superman, you also have Damian Wayne, who is the newest Robin, and you have Jason Todd, who was the second Robin and who's now the Red Hood, and you have Coriander, who is Starfire, and you have a whole host of characters with signature moves and really dynamic, backgrounds and stuff like that. And if I could actually play a fighting game, or if I could ever have played Mortal Kombat, I would be all over this game, because it just looks like a lot of fun. It looks like they did a good job. Okay, Persona 5.
So I mentioned Persona 5 for this list, not only because it was hella acclaimed across the board, but because one of our very first fans, Danny, could not put the game down.
Oh no.
And it's super, super different from anything that we played. It's would you really want to play an RPG in which you go back to high school that is also halfway a dating simulator, that is also a place where you meet allies to kill bad guys?
It's kind of different.
It's it's worth a look-see.
No, because High School Blue, that's the time of my life.
Oh my god, High School Blue dicks. I hated it.
But a time I wish to erase from thought.
Yes. That being said, a lot of people loved it. And that's why it's on the list.
Yeah. All right. So that is our list of Game of the Year, and we gave it to Horizon Zero Dawn early, but congratulations, Horizon Zero Dawn. You won our hearts. You saved the industry. You saved the world. And we look forward.
Wavy.
Yes. All right, and we have one category left, and this is a fun one. If you're still here and you're in the chat, let us know where you would fall on this list. But our next award goes to the most anticipated game of 2018. It's coming soon, but not soon enough.
Yes.
Our nominees are Monster Hunter World,
It comes out in
Good
like
and Evil
a
2.
week and a half, by the way. Monster Hunter World is really
Not-
close.
Not soon enough. It comes out January 26th, if anyone is interested. Beyond Good and Evil 2, Anthem,
Mhm.
Death Stranding,
Wish I could.
Ni no Kuni 2, Valkyria Chronicles 4, Days Gone, Detroit Becoming Human, God of War, Red Dead Redemption, and Metro Exodus. And we're going to go in order, starting with Monster Hunter World, which comes
I
out.
kind of want to
in 2
pre-order
weeks.
it just so I get the the Horizon Zero Dawn skin.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm going to pre-order it.
Landed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Defend that
I think
base.
I'll pre-order. I won't get to play it immediately, but I'll pre-order it so I can at least romp around in that skin when I do get to play it.
So Albadar makes a good point in the chat. Beyond Good and Evil 2 and well, what else did they say? Anthem in 2018, sure. I wanted to put a disclaimer on there that these are just games that we want to play, not necessarily things that come out in 2018. Even though we put 2018 in the title, we put more than that on the list because reasons, and we'll get to the reason why I'm salivating here shortly. But Monster Hunter seems fun. It's their first foray into an actual console game since the PS2. I want to romp around in a crazy-ass world and wear animals as armor to kill other animals to get more armor to kill more animals. That's like the American
And
way in a
obviously
nutshell
make
right there.
Palico look fly as hell.
Okay, and Palico.
Palicos. Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun, and on top of that, our trio is like primed to play that. I'm sure we'll be streaming the ever-loving hell out of that game when it comes out. So look forward to that.
I will be mostly absent though until April, but yes, upon
There's
my
always Tuesday.
finishing
Yep,
of life
yep.
goals, there will definitely be a back play of that game.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that a studio like Capcom and this franchise will support the game, and I look forward to see not only what they have ready for it, but what they have for the future. I'm super excited about it, and
Yep.
I didn't think I was going to be excited for a Monster Hunter game, mainly because it's hunting.
Yeah.
But you hunt monsters. All right. Next on the list, Beyond Good and Evil 2. And again, we know that this game is nowhere near be ready for playing, but we are super excited about it. I'm a space monkey.
That is actually what they're calling the community. All of their like beta testing and all that is called the Space Monkey program. And I believe I've signed up for it as well. And it's not. I never picked up Beyond Good and Evil 1, but we have a diehard fan among us, and it comes with high praise. Plus, the trailer was kick-ass.
The trailer is kick-ass, and I know that within the three of us, you know, the guys know that I really enjoy everything that goes into game development, and that also comes into the marketing and the community outreach and the community like management. And so far, this studio has they're really just hitting me where I live. They're super charming. They're calling us space monkeys. They're really invested in starting a community and then having community input and sharing details into how they're making the game.
Yeah. They are French. Points for Frenchiness.
But and they're starting to show us assets and concept art and running the different things like that, and it just I'm already on the hype train. I'm really excited to see where they're going with this because the first game really delivered. It was critically acclaimed and a little underrated in some ways, and I'm really interested to see how after, gosh, that first game released on, I think, on the Xbox, so you know how long ago that was. I'm really interested in seeing the kind of passion these guys have and where they want to take the game, and if they're actually able to do it. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah? Shall we move on? Wow.
Let's move on to Anthem.
Oh my god, EA, please don't kill it. Like, if EA can just not F it up, it looks like it's going to be an awesome game.
I'm worried for this title. I want it to be good. I want it to be good so bad.
Put worry aside, and I take the trailer at face value when they showed us at E3. Oh my goodness. Mech suits, mech suits, mech suits. give me. That's all I can pretty much say.
It's, yeah, definitely.
I want to fly around like Iron Man and shoot all the things.
It better be good. Like, this can be BioWare's redemption. This can
Absolutely can.
This can be
the ace in the hole.
An incredible game. You can make it so. It's not out of the ordinary. You can do this.
Perfectly doable.
And that trailer looks sick as fuck. Oh my god.
So here I am with it. Like I was really greatly excited about it. Now I'm like, okay, we'll see. But my biggest thing is, and this might even go into prediction, that the gameplay is going to be solid, the story is going to be solid. What is really going to be an issue that we'll hear about later, you know, about, oh, these are the actual issues with production, is that right now they're having to go through and revamp some important systems, like their progression system, so that it's not loot box based, and then we're going to have something at all, or only nominally loot box based,
with only skins and not actual weapons in them.
I would not mind it if they just stripped all loot boxes in totality.
I wouldn't mind
but
either,
that's not going to be a thing.
Progression based.
That's not
like the simpler times.
Not going to happen. In the long ago, it's not going to happen.
We have a couple of comments in here. Marissa says that she would pay so much money to be able to play as Raven or Starfire in an open world game, and I am with you. If I had that opportunity to take some of those DC characters and just play them in something else other than a fighting game that I could actually play, I'd love to do it. And then we also have a most anticipated Fallout 4 New Vegas.
That came out. That came out like, oh my god, dude! Freshman year of high school. I know you're waiting on that mod, man. I told you about it. It's gonna be happening. But like, just come on, dude.
And then another comment real quick is that loot boxes are a blessing and a curse because unfortunately the company wants to make money, so they're not going anywhere. And I agree. And you know, I think I said earlier, if it's down to like games as a service, I wouldn't be so bad about it if they were actually delivering on the promise, but they're not. They're giving you, they're essentially, as a company like EA is trying to give you the bare minimum for the most money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where they get more profit margin.
All right, next on the list is the one that I know that Scorch has been waiting for, and I've been trying to drag it out, but I can't any longer. Death Stranding.
Oh my god, put it in me now! I want it now!
The brain twister.
Oh my god, give it to me this instant! I need this! It has to be the thing! It's gotta... I'm running out of... where it's like melting my brain just thinking about the trailers that we have and how amazingly, like, fucked up everything is.
Kojima and just like, sitting there in a chair holding everyone in the palm of his hand is like, yes, you're all mine.
So, yeah, Sony got a hold of Kojima and was like, you have an unlimited budget, do whatever the fuck you want. And then Kojima's eyes went ding, and he was off to the races, right? That's
And then
essentially
he
what
came
this
back
game
out of
is.
his hole in a couple months and was like, "Look what I have." And the people who proofread his game were just like, "Ah!"
Oh,
And that's all there was to it.
It's weird in all the right ways. It's like Kojima-fied in all the right ways. What the fuck is going on with that baby in your stomach? What is happening? Why are people dissolving and melting? Why are you able to breathe underwater but also be upside down? What? I have
You know
I
what?
have to have this. It has to be a
Listen-
thing that I possess.
Listening to you guys talk about this makes me realize I am actually almost as interested and invested in seeing the South Park Death Stranding episode as I am playing, or at least watching you play Death Stranding.
You
Like,
think
I'm
that's gonna
super
happen?
curious. Oh, I think it's going to be a cultural touchstone, and they're going to have to talk about it.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it's so weird.
That the trailers and the idea that it exists and it's going to be coming to us sometime in the future, whether it's short game or long game, I'm guessing extra long game, has now occupied a constant space in my brain. And I can't say that that's really ever happened outside of the liquid turd dumpster fire that is Destiny 1 before Destiny came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to have that space filled because I know I'm not insane, because that's kind of always been around that space for some obsession. And I want it. It needs to be like good. The only way I think that they could make it bad was if it was like a walk to the next cutscene simulator like Guns of the Patriots was.
Mm-hmm.
Guns of the Patriots was disappointing as shit, Kojima. Don't do that to me.
I think he's got something up his sleeve for everyone. Yeah, he does. All right. Next on the list is one of my personal favorites, Ni no Kuni 2. I played the first game, Ni no Kuni, and it was, by or worked hand in hand with Studio Ghibli at the time. It was still a studio, and they developed essentially a Miyazaki film in game form, and it was. I hate to use the words delightful and charming because I feel like I always do this, but it was a delightful game, and it was a charming game, and it was a fun game, and it had a fun story, and you were basically taken away into this magical world, and you have that same kind of feeling as when you watch Spirited Away or Princess Mononoke or My Neighbor Totoro or all that kind of stuff, and it was just a great RPG experience, even though the combat system wasn't necessarily to my taste. It was still a lot of fun. And now it's back again with new characters, a new world, a new story, and I'm 100% ready to dive in and just be charmed to death.
Standing by to gather storm intel, Commander. Let's launch that van.
Next on the list, Valkyria Chronicle 4. I'm not sure if you guys actually played this
We're heading
game.
your way.
No, I think that's firmly in your wheelhouse and no one else's.
Okay, well, Valkyria Chronicles was I believe it came out for was PS3 was its first iteration? PS2 or PS3, I honestly don't remember. And they had one on the PSP/PS Vita. But essentially it was a real-time strategy game, kind of like a Fire Emblem, but with tanks set in a semi European World War II-ish setting.
Okay.
And it was a lot of fun.
Blue glow to prepare
Like,
for liftoff.
the battles were engaging. You had a really great roster of characters in the same way that you have in your Fire Emblem type game. And they had different relationships and you can build your squad, and if they died forever. So you really wanted to hang on to them. It was just fun. And it had a really great Japanese take on a World War II European story as opposed to their story.
Yeah. Okay.
And so yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I played the PSP version, but I didn't play any of the other sequels, and so I'm really interested to see how they're going to change the game up a little bit, and I hope that I enjoyed it as much as I did the first one.
All right. Cool.
All right, next on the list, Days Gone. We've talked about this one in our E3 video.
We did. I don't really know what to think about this one in particular. It seems like they're pouring a lot of money into this, and it's a good-looking game, and I think the mechanics that they're working on are cool, but I don't think that they've realized that the gaming community as a whole has kind of reached a saturation point when it comes to zombies, and I'm worried that this game isn't going to go anywhere after all of the money and time and like all the names they've put into it. Like, they gave this idea to a first-party Sony company, and I don't really see that much hype around it. They keep showing stuff, and people are like, "Yeah, okay," and I don't know. Really don't know.
I think I'm anticipating it, if only to see how well it does. I thought that our or at least my first E3 showing of it was with the trailer. Where, you're trying to. It was very striking, but at the same time, we've been living in a zombie world for a long time now. So I do see a little bit of player fatigue. At the same time, I think that if it can deliver those type of TV or movie moments, that'll be a really great experience for people who like the survival genre. And if it has enough really cool gameplay elements in it, I think with Sony's marketing might, it'll get played. And I'm really interested to see what it does. I mean, No Man's Sky got played.
It did.
This game,
and then it got dropped like a hot rock, but.
And it got dropped like a hot rock. But at least, if this one is as complete as it seems like it's going to be, then it might be a sleeper hit.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
EA kind of has nowhere to go but up at this point, so.
I mean, after losing billions and billions in stock and losing the faith of all of their community, one would hope, right?
Let's not forget Disney's role in all this nonsense.
They're the reason why Battlefront flipped around. But we should move on with the task at hand.
Yes, because this is the positive section. This is most anticipated.
Yes.
And we're going to Detroit Becoming Human.
It looks good. It's a beautiful looking game. And they're tackling some really adult elements, which I think it's kind of lacking in the gaming industry on a whole. I don't know if we need a cultural shift or something, but I have high hopes for the game. If it doesn't turn out like a really fancy choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
And that being said, things like Telltale series stuff, like Tales from the Borderlands, The Walking Dead, do really well. So there could even be a spot in the community for it, even if it went that direction. What I'm worried about is them losing me because that's not what I want.
Well, then again, trying to make a game that caters to everybody's needs is pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
They're going to have to just, game by game, they have to just pick a demographic and go with it.
Like movies, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's where you get, and this is another conversation, but that's where you get to game development and gaming as an art form. And Is it always to make back your returns, or is it to actually put something out there that's new and innovative? And I think that if Detroit Becoming Human has the really cool sci-fi story elements in there and they execute it well, if the gameplay is, choose your own adventure but more, then I think it has a real shot of being or reaching towards that, game as arts kind of thing.
Marissa adds, still better than No Man's Sky. Sounds as if we have a No Man's Sky hater on our hands, and
Well,
you're in good
Marissa,
company.
will not disagree with you.
Yeah.
Hater, player, same thing in this category because
Yeah.
they just disappointed some people. All right, but we are positive, so we're going to go to the next game on our most anticipated of 2018, God
Do you
of
need
War.
servers or computers or anything? Because I'm in a room full of them.
I need propane tanks.
Oh, well, sorry, I don't have any of that here.
When we were joking around making this list yesterday, Vast kind of quickly called this game Dad of War, and I like it. I think they should rename the entire series to Dad of War.
Weren't you the one who
man.
suggested that one of Kratos' hidden skins is Dad Bod Kratos?
Yeah.
Dad
I
bod
want
Kratos.
Dad bod Kratos.
That would be good.
His shoulders are a little
I actually
round, his
played
belly's a
almost
little...
all of the other ones completely,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just a lot of fun. And the story was actually engaging as you went through it. So I am a fan of whatever this one has to dish out. I have a feeling it's going to be a little more laid back, and it won't be near as like, holy smokes, fast-paced, crush everything in your path type.
Well,
Pace,
I
because you got
still
this kid
imagine
and
that
your
they're gonna
accessory in
work
your way.
in like
Oh, they're gonna
beating
work a little...
through somebody's face
Oh, it's
at some
absolutely gonna
point.
happen,
Like
but
it's
I'm just
gonna
saying, like,
happen.
but it's just not gonna happen every 2 seconds. Like
That's
the
like
previous ones.
God of War
You were
3.
whirling and twirling and like, yeah, you are just the non-stop blender. Like no one
Yeah.
can stop you. You are on full blend protocols, non-stop, 24/7, and no one is stopping you. And
Yeah.
if someone is trying to stop you, they're getting blended.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I will agree.
Oh man. So do
All
we
right,
have anything
next
else?
on the list, 2 more on the list. Next, Red Dead Redemption.
Or whatever the next
Now-
Red Dead title is going to be.
Keep up the good work.
People love this game. People love Rockstar games. I've never been on that bandwagon. It's on the list, for me at least, because so many people are looking forward to it. I don't really have much to say. I mean, I played Red Dead Redemption long enough to skin one rabbit and shoot one bad guy, and left, and never looked back. And it hasn't hurt me since. Like, I lose no sleep over not having played that game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's on my list because it seems like, there are some companies who know how to do genre. GTA, even though I don't necessarily play those games, they know how to do a crime genre. It seems like Rockstar knows how to do good Wild West genre, and I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with this game.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to watch other people play it for a little bit.
All right, we have one final game on our most anticipated for 2018, and that is Metro Exodus.
Man. Okay, so when you saw that trailer, did you not immediately want to rip a bear rat in half with your crazy, over-radiated, craziness powers? Because I need that. Not as much as Death Stranding, but I've got to kill me a zombie bear and some rat zombie things in Russia with some crazy gas mask, whatever weird shit is gonna happen. Deep
I don't know
Silver
if I
is
can handle
cool.
The creep factor.
Oh my god, yes. If you can't tell, I'm a fan of the weird, creepy shit.
Yes.
Wah! Oh, I missed.
All right, I have a feeling that this game is, or this category, we're all going to have something different, but I'll go ahead and walk through our nominees for most anticipated game of 2018 one more time, and that is Monster Hunter World, Beyond Good and Evil 2, Anthem, Death Stranding, Ni no Kuni 2, Valkyria Chronicles 4, Days Gone, Detroit Becoming Human, God of War, Red Dead Redemption, and Metro Exodus.
Yep.
Death Stranding.
Mm-hmm.
You knew that was coming, but like I
Yeah.
had to announce it. Death Stranding is my pick.
Hesitantly, Anthem.
And I'm going to go with Monster Hunter World because it's coming up really soon, and I have a feeling that we're really going to like playing it, and it's a game we can play together.
Yes. Agreed.
Togetherness is oh so important when it comes to community and building a channel, and not only that, having fun with your friends or whatever
We
helps
are
you sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
In all seriousness,
All right.
it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and it's coming out real soon, and I'm super excited about it.
Yeah?
All right, so
Oops.
Anthem,
About wraps
Death
it up.
Stranding, and Monster Hunter World, you won our final Wavy Award.
Yep. You've got to borrow that hacksaw from that other group. Chop it in half. But anyway,
All
this
right.
has been a really long podcast for us. We usually go for about an hour.
2 hours.
We've been going for like a long time, like 2.5 hours or something like that.
Yeah, a little longer than I anticipated being.
Yeah.
But whatever.
All of us, actually, but still.
Yeah, we're tired. I think we all need a bathroom break and all that. So we're gonna call it a night. Thanks for watching, all you guys. This has been episode 16. If you liked what you heard, subscribe and all that junk. We also have a Twitter under the same handle as this YouTube channel. We stream every Tuesday, plus bonus streams of whenever I feel like streaming, which happens to be a lot. I have a lot of free time right now. Anything else to add, you guys?
You can always
That
also
wraps
find
it
us
up.
on Twitch at the same game handle, DerNami Gaming.
Yep. Arcadius, anything to add before we get out of here?
Nope.
All right. We will see you another day. Thanks for joining us.